Listen, guys, my wife is a badass, okay? I just want to be clear about that. I'm going to put this picture up. This is a picture of her a couple of years ago doing single right-legged pistol squats on a step at 5:30 in the morning, just 6 weeks after her full right knee replacement. That's right, she's doing single leg pistol squats on a step 6 weeks after a full knee replacement. There is no question when I look at this picture as to her commitment. This lady isn't just tough. She's pretty darn close to superhuman, okay? She's bound and determined to get onto her snowboard that winter, and nothing was going to stop her, especially not that measly little knee surgery. When I watched her do this, and when I watched her do this that morning, it reminded me of a conversation that I had with one of my coaching clients just a few months ago who was having kind of a hard time in his business. He actually has a really good business and will do really well for a period of time, but then for some reason, each time he gets the business to a certain point, he plateaus, and then he begins to falter to the point of uttering the dreaded words to coach, maybe I should just go get a job. Now, anyone that knows me knows that those words may as well be fighting words to me, right? I believe that entrepreneurship is one of the last bastions of freedom left in this world, and the thought of someone giving up on their dreams because they can't break through a simple mental block is sometimes just a little too much for me to handle. So here's what I asked him. I said, John, and John's not his real name, I said, what's it going to take you to stop farting around with this business and finally commit to it? Except, of course, I didn't say farting, right? His response was understandably defensive. He said, what do you mean, man? When am I going to commit? I've been in this business for 8 years. I poured everything I have into this business, man. You've got to be joking. And what I said to him was that I knew that he had worked hard, and I knew that he had worked long, and I wasn't questioning his work ethic. I was questioning his commitment. What I was really asking him is if he was willing to go all in on his business. I wanted to know if he was a Viking. Now, the Vikings were, of course, known to be fearless and ruthless warriors. This fact makes me pretty proud, as my family tells me that I'm at least a 16th Viking. I think it's more. But once they landed on an enemy's land, a common practice for the Vikings was for the leader to have the crew literally burn the boat on the enemy's shore. Then they went into battle with the image of their burning boat at their back. Were they crazy? I mean, why did they do that, right? Well, after some research, there seems to be 3 major reasons. The first reason was to strike fear and panic in the hearts of their opponent, right? Man has always had this love or / fear of fire, and the awesome sight of a burning ship on the beach could probably be seen for miles. And it certainly emphasized the point to the enemies, we are here. Second, the burning ship was a very strong signal to the enemy that the Vikings were serious and committed, given that they had destroyed their only way home. The enemy must have taken that as a sure sign that this was going to be an extremely tough battle, and the Vikings were definitely ready. And finally, it was a signal to the Vikings themselves. The burning of their ship clearly made the point that the only possible way home was to win the battle. It reinforced their own level of commitment. What that burning ship did for the Vikings was crystallize the moment, and it forced them to leap into the unknown. They could not timidly step out there. They were violently thrust into the abyss. So, how does this apply to John, the guy that I was talking about? John was working in his business. He was trying to do well, but he seemed to always be hedging his bet by believing that if the business didn't work out, he could simply quit it all and go get a job. He wasn't really all in. He had an escape route that allowed him to create excuses for not creating a sustainable, thriving business. So, how can John and you apply the lessons of the Vikings to his business? How can he burn the boats and go all in? How can you? Here are some ways that I believe you can go deeper with your commitment. Number 1, Eliminate plan B. The only reason to even have a plan B is because part of you believes that plan A isn't going to work. The moment you doubt that your plan is going to work, then you've already failed. Here's the deal. No matter what happens, you have the skills to deal with your situation. You always have. You've always survived. You don't need a plan B. It will crystallize if and when it becomes time, but you need to double down on plan A. So number one way to go deeper with your commitment is to eliminate plan B. Number two is don't just try, do. Okay, in the Empire Strikes Back film of the Star Wars fame, there's a conversation between Luke Skywalker and Yoda when Yoda is asking Luke to levitate his X-Wing fighter with only his mind. And it goes something like this. Luke says, Master, moving stones around is one thing, but this is totally different. Yoda says, and I'll spare you the Yoda voice, but no different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned. Luke basically says, all right, I'll give it a try. Yoda says, no, try not. Do or do not. There is no try. What Yoda is saying to Luke is that trying doesn't accomplish anything. Luke must decide that he can move that X-Wing fighter and get about it or quit. There's no room for an in-between solution. Learning to use the Force for Luke was a mental game, and using the Force for you also is a mental game, so your state of mind is what matters most. So that's number two. Don't just try, do. Number three is start with small commitments. All too often, entrepreneurs set goals that are simply too big. And you can look at some of the other videos that I've done or some of my articles, but we set goals that are way too far out in the future. We can vision out there, but it's hard to set goals out there. They're so far out, they're not meaningful. And there are too many steps and milestones on the way to the final goal for you to be able to see the clear path to success. And the same thing is true for commitments. So instead of making a commitment like, I will do this business for the rest of my life, start making commitments that sound more like, I will not look at the classified ads for the next 12 months. Once you start committing to easier, smaller goals, then making the larger commitment doesn't seem as difficult. So start with small commitments. The fourth is you got to kill FOMO, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. In order to truly commit to something, you have to eliminate any worry that you'll be missing out on something else, a job, a different business, whatever it might be. You have to stop wondering what else might be out there, and you have to be present with where you are right now. You have to live in the moment right now. You have to be confident the decision you've made is the right decision, and you need to go and get to work. So those are 4 ways that you can go deeper with your commitment. Number 1, eliminate plan B. The only reason to have a plan B is because you doubt plan A is going to work. Eliminate it. Number 2, don't just try, do. Don't say you'll try to do something. Make a commitment to actually do it. Number 3, start with small commitments, okay? Don't set goals that are too big and too far out. Get a little closer in. Have some success. Set another one. And the 4th one is stop wondering what else might be out there. Be present with where you are right now. Kill that fear of missing out. Listen, at the end of the day, commitment is simply a firm decision to pursue a particular path. A path where excuses and hedging your bet are just not welcome. All right, so now I'm going to go see if I can do some one-legged pistol squats like my badass wife. And I hope you're going to take a look at some of the stuff in your life that you need to commit more strongly to. Dig in and get to it. That's it, guys. Hope you have a great week. I'll talk to you soon.